Good morning. Digital office, it's not always the most exciting of topics. However, partly because we've been talking about it for 10 years. As entrepreneurs and as business leaders, we want to spend our time, our own energy, our most valuable engineers. We want to be spending these on developing our product, on developing our business and developing our service. Unfortunately, so often we get mired in having to install servers, in having to manage desktop contracts, manage software licensing contracts, and having to deal with viruses, and having to recover data from failed hard drives. And yet this utopia of a virtual office, a machine that is self-installs, easy to manage, virus-free, backed up automatically, has been propounded for 10, maybe 15 years. 10 years ago, we were all reading on the cover of Computer Weekly, we're in the IT industry, that virtual desktops were going to be the answer. That all we had to do was take our Microsoft software and run it in an IBM data center and sell our desktops sold to Citrix, and that's it. We'd be free, we'd be mobile, and life would be better. A few of us tried it. I did. Got burnt a few times, a couple of times it worked, but for the vast majority it didn't happen. 5 years ago, the blogosphere, the early Twitters, were talking about software as a service. Again, this was it was an early technology. It was a space where a few niche vendors provided a handful of applications, which were great, but not nearly enough to run your business on. So the question really today is, what's changed? What is it that's going to make us all more mobile, more productive, have to worry less about the issues of dealing with the desktop, making sure we've got our data everywhere when we need it? We've got a stellar panel here, and I guess I will let each of them introduce themselves briefly, and I will open with a question or two following that. So perhaps we could start with James.
Hello, everybody. My name is James Oakrick. I'm head of technology at Microsoft in the UK. I pretty much work with all our partners across the length and breadth of the country, helping them understand how our latest and greatest technology can really improve the way you run your business. I'm also championing to be Microsoft's first CSO, and that is Chief Simplification Officer. So I think it's long overdue, and I'm championing that cause as well.
Bradley, Byzantra.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bradley Starr. I'm the founder of Byzantra. This is my second software business, which I set up specifically to solve the problem of why is it so difficult to get all the basic management tools that are needed by a startup or small business. The basis for this is that the better organized you are, the more you've got information with you anywhere you go, then you'll spend less time managing and more time doing business. We launched earlier this year. Predominantly, our customers are startup companies because they have nothing at the beginning, and it is software as a service.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Doug.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Doug Clark from IBM. I look after IBM's cloud business in the UK and Ireland. And I'd just like to say I think this is a perfect time for, looking at the questions earlier, I think this is a perfect time for entrepreneurs. I think we've almost leveled the playing field between the big organisations and those people who are more fleet of foot, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion on cloud in my case.
Okay, thank you. And finally, we're going to turn to change to the build programme. It's Darren from Orange.
Good afternoon, yes, Darren Hopper. I head up the marketing propositions team within Orange, focusing primarily on SMBs, with a real focus at the moment on small business particularly. These are the businesses that I think are finding it, in many ways, most challenging to evolve in these difficult times. So I think the debate around the digital office is a very current one right now, to make sure that businesses are understanding the benefits they can get from this, but also I think the debate we'll probably get into today, some of the potential pitfalls and challenges that small business need to look out for when they try and adopt a lot of technologies in order to try and drive through difficult times.
Okay, thank you. So I guess the place to start is with Microsoft. I guess when we all first brought our PCs into business 20 years ago, we immediately became hostage to that Microsoft Office suite. And that need, that desire for that rich tool set, many would say has been the barrier to portability or to being able to keep us on the move as we need to go about our working from home, our working from trains, and our need to get rid of our servers. Microsoft, is it your fault?
Thanks for that kind question there. Is it Microsoft's fault? I would say that we've done our fair share to help productivity in many businesses, large and small, predominantly with the Office suite that I hope many of you are followers and fans of. But clearly the world has changed as regards how we develop our own personal work styles, how we choose to work. I myself, working at Microsoft, I'm based in Manchester, even though our head office is in Reading, and wherever there's an internet connection, that is my office. It has been for the last 10 years in the way that I've worked. But that's become a lot easier as the technologies have evolved, and particularly our Office technologies. So, for many years we've enabled you to actually work with your email offline as well as online. We recognise that people are moving and embracing a multitude of devices. I was watching from the galleries, a number of you using certain pad-type devices and iPhone devices and Android devices, and we respect diversity, so we make sure that you can access the emails and so on. But some of the work that we're doing, bringing the Office applications to mobile devices, the work we've done to enhance web applications, enables this mobility to really take place. So, we are moving with the sort of the lifestyles that people want to have. This sort of flexible working anywhere, anytime, is becoming more and more a reality. We're not locking you to the PC anymore. We're opening that up so you can work wherever and whenever.
Okay, thank you. The desktop Office suite is obviously part of the equation, but most businesses need a bit more. Typically, you need, even as a small business, some sort of CRM application, some sort of ERP application. Where do these come from? And I'm going to turn to IBM, I think, to start with.
Well, quite often you will already have something along those lines. You may have been party to a JV, or you might have inherited a brownfield site where you've already got servers and applications and, if you like, some inherent baggage. If you haven't and you've got a greenfield site, then you can access a lot of those systems and applications through the cloud. It's quite easy to do. It doesn't mean that you need to let go of all the good IT practices and procedures and policies and all that other good stuff that has been there protecting you and protecting bigger enterprises over the years, but it allows you to be a lot more agile. It allows you to implement a new business using more of an operating expense model than necessarily needing to have a huge capital expense. So, I think there's a lot of flexibility to access functionality and the full richness of applications and suites without necessarily needing to own it in the historical, traditional way.
Okay, thank you. But surely if you're going to work with applications that are in the cloud, you need to be able to connect to the cloud. The future used to be bright, used to be orange.
Yep,
now it's everything everywhere.
Yes.
Do you truly believe we can connect when we need to now?
Yes, we're getting to that point. I mean, you can't sit here to say, has everyone got connectivity everywhere right now? That's not necessarily the case for everybody, but I think the ambition is there to make sure that, our view is that people need connectivity wherever they are. They need to be able to run the business wherever that is. There's a number of surveys and some reports that we've commissioned that throw out some really interesting statistics recently. I mean, for instance, if anyone got the choice to choose where they would actually work, the southwest of the UK would see a population increase of 153%. So, everyone tends to want to work where they get this work-life balance right. And I think the actual technology and the connectivity is going to allow that. I mean, we're trialling at the moment LTE, so 4G. So you may have heard of it. In the US and some countries, it's already in existence and already powering business. So, 4G technology will give you the ability to do a lot of the stuff that you traditionally still probably have to do in the office or connected to Wi-Fi anywhere. We're trialling this in Cornwall, and people have said to me, well, why are you trialling it in Cornwall? But, you know, the statistic I've just given you about everyone actually wants to live in Cornwall, it seems like the ideal location to run this trial. So connectivity is key. If we move into the cloud, a lot of businesses are going to rely on a lot of information that's going to be in the cloud, and they need to be able to get access to that. There'll be nothing more frustrating than having really important information. You're going to a meeting and you can't access that. We understand that, and there is a significant amount of investment being put in, not just by Everything Everywhere, but the other operators, to make sure we've got a really powerful network in the UK and we can entice entrepreneurial businesses to the UK as a result of that.
Okay. It's a great story. We've been there. Occasionally, some of us haven't got a signal. Surely there's a solution. I'm going to turn to Bradley. Can we rely always on connectivity?
I think the simple answer is no, we can't. And it's not just relying on the connectivity, which we've all experienced, doesn't exist everywhere. There are times when we want more information than we can pull down reasonably at the moment. Now, with the simple concept that computing continues to get more powerful, we can carry everything with us. So my preference always is for a model where all your data and information is available offline, on your PC, on your pads. They're getting increasing capacity now, as well as online, and it synchronizes because there's no penalty to do that, so you don't have to worry about whether you've got connectivity or not. And that isn't just documents, it should be your financial information, it may be employee records, it may be the record of that last conversation that one of your team members had with a customer. To have that information anywhere, you know, to the Orange slogan, is very, very powerful. But the advantage of connecting that to the cloud is you're permanently backed up, you have a conduit to share with your team, and you just want this to turn on and work. That's one of the most important things, which has previously only been the province of large companies, but now with small companies, as Julie said, being the drivers of economic and employment growth in Europe and the US and most developed economies, we should be able to make that available to small companies as well.
Okay, thank you. So before I open up questions to the floor, I think I'd like each of you to pick one customer that you've sold to, and pick one or two key decisions they made as they decided to go into a more mobile or more virtual digital environment. The one or two decisions that they made that actually made the process more successful for them. And perhaps again we'll start with James.
I just want to just say up front that I'm a technology person, not a salesperson. So I merely just explain the value of our technology, and then they choose to buy it, which is very different. I enjoy having conversations with all sides of business, and I met some people in Manchester, and they talked about their move to the cloud, and they were talking about how they'd had challenges where they actually had a power cut in their business, and they were running their systems on premise, and this just completely ground their entire business to a stop. Now we've actually transitioned towards embracing the cloud. They could actually just send people home, and they could just connect with their PC straight through the internet and continue working. So people are looking at it as regards contingency to their existing business, as well as the sort of flexibility that allows people to work wherever and whenever. So there are many different reasons why people are looking at cloud-enabled technologies to allow people to have this sort of digital office environment.
Okay, so contingency is a key part. It's not just cloud is an add-on option potentially to a strategy, not necessarily an all-out move.
Yeah, I think you'll find is that last year the term cloud was the term that everybody used in our industry. This year I'm voting for the word hybrid. That will be the word that will be used, and that's a hybrid as regards things that you have on-premise today, and also complementing that with cloud technologies where it makes sense. So email is one that I think that now is the time that everybody should be considering whether you need to buy a mail server anymore, whether that email workload could actually sit very comfortably in the cloud, but still have the confidence that you can actually synchronize and have your email offline on a mobile device for when you're in the tube, or cached in the Outlook client on your laptop or ultra-thin device, and away you go. So we're bringing the best of both worlds there.
Okay, thank you. Doug, one or two things customers have done right in this transition?
A couple of interesting things. A quick, small one. Working with one of the ferry companies down on the Isle of Wight, which kind of takes your West Country story a bit further. So they're a ferry company. They really pride themselves for customer service, and they've got a regular set of people who commute from the island to the mainland every day for business. And what they did was create a small cloud application, which takes some of the feeds off the ferry. Not a huge amount of effort, but there's some algorithmics in there, some smart technology in there, which takes things like GPS feeds and some of the feeds off of the ferry, and then pushes that out as a tweet into the community, and all of those commuters just access that twittering ferry feed, and they can see, you know, where the ferry is, whether it's just turning around in the dock, whether it's delayed, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's a really good little example of how a cloud application can really resonate and drive a little bit of customer service or customer satisfaction, and therefore add value. I think another one that, again, just trying to resonate with the audience is, I was sitting with 2 construction companies that were setting up a JV to be able to bid for some work. Traditionally, one of those partners would have to provide the IT into the JV. There would be penalties if they didn't provide enough IT, so that party would generally provide too much IT so they don't get penalty clauses. They were only allowed to charge a certain amount to the JV for that IT, so they usually had to undercharge so they didn't get penalty clauses. I think with the advent of cloud and being able to buy capacity on demand for the duration of a particular project and then migrate that, productionize it, whatever, I think that has created a massive leg up and has reduced that sort of cost equation by 2 factors. So, there's things like that I think are a real advantage, and, thinking about it and bringing IT into the business environment rather than thinking about it as IT is really the sort of message that I'd like to leave with the audience.
Thank you very much. Darren.
Yeah, I think I won't name the company, but it was an interesting challenge for them. They saw difficult times ahead. They were experiencing sort of turnover down by about 30%. It was a recruitment company, and as with any recession, as we've seen, that sometimes it's the employees that suffer. So they were having some difficult times, and they sort of approached us in understanding how they can actually resolve this. They were looking at how they could reduce their costs. They had an office, they had company cars, they had consultants within the business. They had a look at all of the actual assets that they had within the organisation, and I think it was back to sort of Austin's point about, what's your most important asset, and they realised it wasn't the cars, it wasn't the office, it wasn't the infrastructure, it was the people. So they looked at ways in which they could actually keep all the people in place but still reduce the cost. So they removed the office, they removed the company cars, which was obviously seen as at first slightly problematic, but they rebased everyone basically at home. So a huge change for the actual organisation themselves. But by doing that, they were able to strip out all of those sort of fixed costs that they had. It was seen as a temporary move in the sense that this organisation did want an office. They still wanted that office environment, because one of the things they said that they do miss within that home environment is that connectivity with people. And I think in their business it is all about sort of the relationships and so on. But they were able to adopt technologies, the mobile phone, putting broadband wireless into their actual homes, and set up that environment. And not one person within that organisation was made redundant as a result of that. So I mean, it's a very basic example of how the technology can be used. But if at the end of the day, if it comes down to looking at the assets that you've got, most often than not, the people are the most important things. And I think they were given the choice, fight or fold, and they chose to fight it, look at a different model. And indeed, now they're actually, from the last conversations I had with the owner, they're more productive now as a result of that, because he was quite fearful of working from home. It'll be productive. How do I keep a check or tabs on them? And he found that they are more productive, and they've got a more interesting outlook on that particular sort of aspect of the work. Indeed, when I came in today on the tube, stuffed in with about 500 other people on the carriage, if that was my commute every day, I'm not sure if I would turn up at 9 o'clock and be enthusiastic and full of joy. So I think there is some benefits in allowing sort of employees to work from home.
Well, that's an amazing case study. That's saving a company from liquidation through absolutely changing the way it operated.
Yeah.
Quite incredible. Bradley.
Thank you. Under the, here's one I prepared earlier, guys. We actually have one of our customers in the room. Russell, I hope you don't mind if I sort of mention your case. But Russell Dalgleish, who's here, he and his team in Falkirk, just outside Edinburgh, have built a wonderful social enterprise incubator in Scotland, which is helping to incubate new organisations with people who, for one reason or another, are either out of work, coming out of education and can't find new jobs. The organisation itself is relatively new. It's fairly typical of modern organisations in that not everybody works in the same office. They're either on the move, some of them are in physically different towns, and they had no infrastructure. So from the beginning, they said, we need something to do everything. They discovered the Bisantra product with a little bit of disbelief in the it does everything for almost nothing, which you would normally disbelieve. Checked it all out, found out step by step that this thing actually works, which is always a good thing for a piece of technology, and have implemented into their headquarters and rolling steadily through each of the features, but they didn't have to buy anything more and just only had to learn one thing. So starting with the finance, then the document sharing so people can get at whenever they need, now in the contact management so they can keep in contact and share the information with their various clients. And it's proven to be successful, and what they're doing is actually building out of a hub there where they become a knowledge base so they can put this into each of the new incubated startups. Now, the thing that swung it for them is a particular initiative that we've started, which is to be very supportive of startups, and knowing that's when everyone needs help, doesn't have a lot of money, we're letting startups who tend not to put a lot of strain on the system use this for 12 months free. And the exact words they said to me was, it all works, and then it just became a no-brainer from the beginning. So it was that ability, and particularly in Scotland, they do have patchy internet connectivity and patchy mobile. It does keep improving all the time. So that's really what swung the decision-making. So we work hard keeping them happy and then spreading the knowledge through to the new startups and through educational establishments there.
Excellent.